Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. But you know what? Because of sinking issues, I need to do something special. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you very much for being here with us. We are going to have a great show for you today. How's everybody doing? I trust everybody is doing just fine. Anyway, we are going to have a great show, like I always said, as I try to get things synced up here. You know how that is sometimes. You try to do the best you can. You try to do the best you can. Anyway, how are my peeps doing? Welcome aboard. First one on board. AVQ, El Señor Michael Rutnin, second person in the house, seemed to have been Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Of course, Michael is from Brooklyn, New York. Joanne is from Los Angeles, California. We've got Bridge MCP La Preciosa from Binghamton, New York. We have Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita. And in the house with us as well is, scrolling down, E2247 from everywhere, and Yvette Avery Herod, La Preciosa Amiga Mia de Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome aboard, everybody. I hope you're all having fun. I don't seem to see our lives here on. Where is our live on? Let's see. Our live should be appearing as well on Substack. I don't see it on Substack. If anybody looking at Substack, are we live on Substack or not? I don't know. We should be. I see that we're streaming there. Let me go ahead and take a look just to make sure that we have everything in what we call copacetico. In other words, everything in order. You know how these things go sometimes. Let's go. I'm going to the dashboard and see if I am live. Yep, I think we're live. Yeah, we're live on Substack as well. Anyway, folks, how's everybody doing? I trust everybody is okay. Patrick Magna just chimed in as well. He says it's regular or standard meow. Welcome aboard. All right, let's start reading. The Hill, from The Hill via Michael Rudden. Atlantic journalist says Trump official included him in war group plan chat. Jeffrey Goldberg, editor-in-chief of Atlantic, was apparently included in a Trump administration group chat on Signal in which top officials debated and then discussed details of attack against Houthi rebels in Yemen. This is shameful. I've been covering that. I have a little thing to talk about that. The initial invite to the group apparently came from National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth reportedly sent the group details, including weapons use, targets, and timing, 2 hours ahead of the attacks, which began March 15th. Others in the group were Vice President Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, and CIA Director John Ratcliffe. In a stunning report, Goldberg claimed Waltz connected with him on Signal on March 11, and 2 days later, he was invited to join a chain called the Houthi PC Small Group, in which they discussed strikes against the Houthi militant group in Yemen. Seemingly unaware, Trump officials, second item, NBC News, Trump officials shared military plans, same article, same thing. And let's see, New York Times, now Europe knows what Trump's team calls behind its back pathetic. Trump officials have demanded more European military spending and questioned their continent's values. Leaked messages show the depth of the rift. Stephen Miller wrote in the Signals group chat, if Europe doesn't remunerate then what? If the US successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return. You see, it's always about capital. Natalie Toxi, director of Italy's Institute of International Affairs, said it is clear that the transatlantic relationship, as was, is over, and there is, at best, an indifferent disdain, and at worst, and closer to that, there's an active attempt to undermine Europe. And I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to create three poles: the Russian pole, the China pole, and the United States pole. The problem with that is that the only powerful pole there, numerically from a people's point of view, is China. And a lot of people don't understand it yet. But China understands what soft diplomacy looks like. And China has a massive population. And with that massive population, they have been investing throughout Latin America, throughout Africa, throughout South America. They've been doing all of this while we've been bombing, while we've been calling people out by names, while we've been disrespecting people. What do you think is going to happen to us? They are putting us in decline. All right, another one from Michael Rudnin. Egberto, one of two for the screen. There should be an investigation into Pete Hegseth and Mike Waltz for start, as they should be using Signal for official government work. There is both the matter of it being outside the government presidential records. That is also important. They're conducting business outside the Records Act, which means there isn't a record that goes into the registry, which is horrendous and illegal. If this has been happened to anyone else, Hegseth of Waltz would have resigned, and you guys are going to see what I have to say about that. Now, here is what Rudnin would like to get to the screen. Let's go ahead and put that onto the screen for all to see. Let me put it in the center of the screen. Here we go. It goes as follows. The Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans. U.S. national security leaders included me in a group chat. Yemen, I didn't think it could be real. Then the bombs started falling, and it was clear that it was, in fact, real. All right, what else have we got here? Second one Michael Rudnin has for the screen. Let's hope he doesn't get me in trouble with that one, and he didn't get me in trouble because these are culprits, and all of them should know better. Let me cover myself up with that as well. And it's Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor, J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence. That's of the entire National Defense Department, guys. That means CIA. That means everything. I mean the national CIA, the National Intelligence. John Ratcliffe, Director of the CIA. Susie Wiles, White House Chief of Staff. Steve Wyckoff, Special Envoy to the Middle East. Think about this, guys. This is a guy that has no confirmation power. And Stephen Miller, the weirdo who is White House Deputy Chief of Staff. Very weird guy. If you guys ever seen him, a very weird dude. Others were on it, and we don't know who the others are. Could it be a Russian agent on the other a part of others? We don't know. And Jeffrey Goldberg, who is a reporter. I wonder, let me tell you what I wonder, okay? I wonder if they decided to make Jeffrey a stooge. This seems, I mean, this seems so far-fetched that they could make a mistake to put Jeffrey Goldberg on, even if you put the JD versus JG, as one reporter was trying to say. Is this a setup? Were they thinking that Jeffrey would have been so silly that they put him in that chat and something goes wrong, and then they create a story that says, well, the reason things went wrong is we accidentally put a liberal reporter on the feed and he sold us out. I mean, I can't think of anything. I'm just throwing that out there, guys. I don't know that at all. I'm throwing that out there. I just find it so so uncharacteristically, I won't use the word, but that's what I wonder. Okay, that's what I wonder. Anyhow, continuing, what else have we got here? What else have we got here? Coming into the screen, Paul Fleming says NPR, a Pentagon wide advisory that went out 1 week ago, warns against using the Signal, the messaging app, even for unclassified. You know, we use it in the activist community, we use Signal quite a bit. And that is because it's end to end encryption, but it's no different than using WhatsApp, which is end to end encryption, right? But still, we all know those things are made to be broken. All right, continuing. Let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming, what is that on from Threads, Paul? Let me know when you put just a link before I pull it up. Kind of give us a little idea of what it is, my dear brother. What else have we got here? Yvette Avery Harris said, "Good afternoon, good afternoon, my sis." Paul Fleming says they're blaming fires on DEI, plane crashes on DEI, bridges collapsing on DEI, but incompetent white dudes leaking national secrets to report it. Crickets. Paul, that's funny. That is, look, all right, you open the DEI door. Let's use this as a DEI thing here, okay? DEI, it's designed. I hate when people misuse the word DEI. When they call black folks DEI hires, I think black folks or Latinos or women should accept when they say you are a DEI hire. I think you need to accept it because you are. When black folks in high positions, when black folks in positions that they're not used to having, when women in positions they're not used to having, when other people of color in positions they're not used to having, get placed into those jobs, accept that it is DEI. What is that? Inclusion, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what it is. It is true. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. Because the Pete Hegseth hire is how things used to be before DEI. The Pete Hegseth hire, an incompetent person, just because of the color of his skin and his sexuality, gave him that job without having to fulfill the third leg called competency. But he got the job. Everybody else has to have the three competencies, right? They have to be competent to get that job. Not Hegseth, because he has two things that gives him qualifications: his pigmentation and his gender. So all people who got jobs on the DEI mantra accept it and love it. I tell you a quick little story. I was flirting with republicanism right out of UT. I've always been a progressive liberal, and that never changed. But when I went to work for NL, this was an oil service company, and I got on in a fairly high level right out of college, and a lot of people thought I was just there because to fulfill an affirmative, what they called then affirmative action. They didn't call it diversity, equity, inclusion. They just called it affirmative action, right? Affirmative action was there to make sure that your the place of employment kind of resembled America, that people got opportunities, etc. And I hated it. I hated walking into that office with people thinking I was there to fulfill some quota. And because I was going to dispel that, I not overachieved. I super overachieved. In every single, I worked in the private sector in corporate America for 5 years before I started on my own. In every one of those 5 years, I excelled superbly at every job that I did. Leaps and bounds above everybody else. Not because I was leaps and bounds above anybody. Well, yeah, a lot of those guys definitely. But because I wanted to dispel that heavy weight of you are not qualified, you're just here because of an affirmative action and your pigmentation. And I remember being so mad about it. We would have these big parties, right? And I would get on the case of a lot of my friends talking about how much I hated affirmative action. I think I wrote that in one of my books as well. I hated affirmative action, but that was a selfish hate. That was selfish on my part because I hated it because I had I hated the way these boys looked at me. I knew more about the PDP 11. I knew more about TDS 11, and I built more of that stuff than quite a few of them that's been there for decades. But they looked at me as if I affirmative action higher. So it hurt to the core that I hated affirmative action. And I remember a reporter from I think it was ABC 13. He looked at me and he said, we would argue all the time. And I would tell him, I hate affirmative action. I don't believe in it because what it does is it makes people look down at you as not, and he's like, you're gonna learn. You will learn. And he would always be patient with me and tell me I would learn. And when he left ABC and went back to DC, I looked at him and when I really saw the light, when I saw the light, I called him up and I apologized. And I'm like, man, you are so right. I got every single job that I got, whether it was at NASA, whether it was at Ford Aerospace, Lockheed, whether it was at Daniel PD, all of that was affirmative action. Because absent affirmative action, I would have not gotten my foot into that door. I was qualified, and they only looked at people that were qualified. Even when I applied at NASA, you had to have the qualifications to get, but what it did is it opened that door for you to go through. Because America is still a prejudiced, racist country. And if you think that just anybody can walk in and get the job, you're dreaming. And I apologized to my brother. I said, I'm sorry. I am with you. And from then on, I was that big proponent of affirmative action and now diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, equity, and inclusion ensures that not only a bunch of mediocre folks get jobs, but that people who are actually qualified for the job, irrespective of their ethnicity, irrespective of their gender, irrespective of their race, get it. And what you see with Hegseth, what you see with Donald Trump, what you see with Doge, who runs Doge? What you see with Elon Musk is a bastion of mediocrity destroying a country. Hegseth, our security destroyed. Donald Trump, our country destroyed. Elon Musk, a country destroyed. We are led by mediocrity. We uplift, we try to uplift mediocrity to make it look in your eyes that these guys know something that you don't. We are led by mediocrity. People that don't know, people that are in hindsight, not in hindsight, many of us can see it already, or do not have that much upstairs, but yet they lead. Yet they're respected. Folks, don't buy into the crap. I hope you're listening to what I'm saying keenly. All right, let me continue scrolling down. All right, let's see. My brother Patrick Magner, talk to me.
What we're seeing with the lack of DEI was a wholesale downgrade of the leadership in our country, and the mistakes that we are making are unprecedented.
Yes.
We don't even know whose sides to fight on. We're threatening Iran, who is in an alliance with Russia, while we support Russia, who is attacking East European country, while we downgrade or turn our backs on the rest of Europe. The amount of business cargo that we send through that strait is only about 3 to 5%.
Exactly.
So we can actually easily deal without it, and the tariffs are going to be so much more damaging than the access to that strait. And Saudi Arabia is aligning with Ukraine. I don't think that Putin genuinely likes Trump. I think he sees him as a chump, and easily manipulated. Be nice to him, and he'll give you whatever you want. And what isn't being covered too with this mistake, that quote unquote mistake, is that there was a possible warning to the Houthis, and that would have jeopardized our pilots.
Yes. I don't think people understand how serious this is.
To me, it's treason. I think I think that would stand up in court.
I agree.
Even if it was, I don't know. I've been beside myself for the last day or so. We don't need to be doing this to these countries, and it's coming back to us. And we're making every mistake we can along the way. And the reason why these mistakes are being made is because these rich people think that just because they have a pile of money that they are better than everybody else, and that they don't have to study, and they don't have to be careful because they think that they've got some benevolent hand guiding them or something. I don't understand it. These guys are idiots.
Well, let me tell you. I didn't say that. You said that, and I agree with that. Let me just say this. It's important. We have been taught to believe that having capital means you're intelligent. And what I think it's clear, it means that having capital gives you the ability to be not very intelligent, and I don't mean that, I'm not just saying this off the cuff, because you look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk is going into systems he knows nothing about. He and his baby boys, hackers, are going into systems that they don't know about. Even if the government was run crazily, any engineer would tell you the following. And I think you're an engineer too, right? Any engineer would tell.
No.
Okay, I thought you were an engineer, but
I work with engineers.
Well, it evidently rubbed off on you because you have the mind of an engineer. Any engineer would tell you, right, that whenever there are large gradients, bad things happen. That's why pointed things penetrate, while that same device, if it doesn't have a point on it, it's a hell of a lot of resistance to penetrate. Whenever there are large gradients on a point, if you look at a point, that's as large a gradient as you can get, and that's why that can penetrate something. Gradients in government, making quick changes to certain things. That's why you never see me advocate, we want Medicare for all started tomorrow. What I want is the ability to transition in a defined time how things work, so that people don't panic into how working system go. That government computer systems are complex animals, some of them over 50 years old with COBOL. There are people that are dead decades ago whose code is still working, that nobody knows how the hell it works. You see what I'm saying? And you have a Doge go in there, Elon Musk go in there, and he tries to change something. He doesn't know all the trade-offs that these guys had to do for this stuff to work. And that's the problem, my dear brother Patrick. You got to know what you don't know, and when you don't know it, you do it in stages, right? Oh.
Yes, exactly. Because you can theorize on this all you want, but until you actually put it into action and you do the troubleshooting around it, you don't know what's going to happen. And then I told you that I spotted when Musk was talking with I forgot his name, He debates a scientist, or he did debate a scientist a couple of times, and the scientist tried to walk him down the scientific method, and he didn't even know the basics, and so he's not going to isolate something. He's going to change several things at a time, and so there isn't the constant. you're not sure what's working and what's not.
Yeah, look, the thing about it is I've heard Musk talk a whole lot and answer a lot of questions, right? And just like you've realized it, the guy does not know what he's talking about. People don't look at what Musk says. They look at what they see of him being the CEO of Tesla, the CEO of SpaceX, and what is the other thing? Space, the communications company. That's what they see. But what they fail to realize is all those companies are run by somebody else. And those companies were in existence before he was. He's just the money bag. That's it. But anyhow, anything else,
Another
my
thing
brother? Go ahead.
yeah, we'll finish with this. I was going to say one consistency with all those businesses that you just named is that they've all stolen business from someone else.
Exactly. And
Every
you know
single
what
one of
is
them.
and you know what's the other big thing about them, Patrick? They're all on the government dole because they don't have to compete. And you know what? There's one thing about free enterprise that is true, right? Competition is good. If you have a lot of companies doing the same thing, it is good. Now, the patent system has a way of screwing up competition, and that I've written about that in my book as I see it. Patents are dangerous, but that said, um, if you take a look at what has happened, I don't know if it's you who sent it to me or my daughter, uh, sent me the different set of cars that China is making, electric cars, and what they do, and it makes uh, Elon Musk's most latest car look like a troglodyte because there's no innovation there. It is just somebody that got something running. It got subsidized, no competition, and guess what has happened? We have the lousiest electric cars, and China has the best. Think about that,
The
Patrick.
the only vehicle that was designed him was that Cybertruck, and it's the most recalled vehicle ever.
Yes.
They're now finding out that it was glued, that the body panels were glued together, and they're falling off. I'm
I
dead serious. I'm dead
I know,
serious.
I know the recall is out, and actually they said it actually they're not concerned about it damn hurting people in the car. They're concerned about it hurting other drivers on the road. It's amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, that's true, Patrick. Anyway, brother, thank you so kindly for calling in. Always like your message, my brother. All right.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's see. Michael says, Eric, that's a communication between Michael. Bree says, funny how MAGA are still saying stupid crap. Biden did it. Oh, the emails. Oh, they didn't. If any Democrat admin did this, there would be hell to pay. I mean, it would be on Fox News 24/7, and they know it. They know it. Patrick says, what Hegseth did qualifies as treason. I agree. GOP senator accidentally calls out Trump and dogs. Attacks on Social Security. Trump's cuts to staffing has led to increased wait times for needy Americans. You can't make this up. No, you can't, Paul. You're absolutely right. Britt says Egberto Willis per Heather Cox Richardson. She said there was another there in Moscow waiting for a meeting which was held up. Maybe they were reading the chat. Maybe they were. All right. Let's see. Steigen Bergen Creek says, funny how you believe the right wing from. Yeah, these guys that simply read this stuff. It gets me, right? Otherwise, smart people, it just shows you the danger of ideology. With progressives, you can say something new, and then they say, damn, I guess I was wrong on that. Okay, we got to change what we're saying. But these guys, it doesn't really matter. All right, Lee the Bearcat, welcome from Austin. He says Tim Walz and Beto coming to Texas. That should be riveting. I love it. Yes, I love it. Beto is a good Texan, and I really love me some Tim Walz. I would vote for Tim Walz for president. Let me tell you that straight up. I think Tim Walz on the top of the ticket would be excellent. By the way, that's not a dig on my sister at all. Okay, uh, if she runs again, I will listen to everything she has to say, and if she becomes progressive as Tim Walz is, we'll consider her. But right now, as far as fairly establishment people that are singing the progressive tune, give me some Tim Walz. All right, let's see what else we got here. Brit says they're calling what happened whiskey. That is so funny. Patrick says before DEI, we had a workplace similar to what you can see in the series Mad Men. All right. Local for this one is from Stegen Bergen Creek, a local nonprofit here in Portland has a report out that over 27 people with legal status have been disappeared by ICE in the few months. They predict that left unabated, Oregon can expect over 1,000 legal immigrants will disappear over the next 4 years. This is Nazi stuff. Yes, it is. It's Nazi stuff. E2247 says, Egberto Goldberg is not just a reporter, he's an editor in chief of The Atlantic. He is truly significant, and number 47 is doing what he can to minimize Goldberg's validity. Do not invalidate Goldberg. Did I do that? Thank you for. If I did that, I shouldn't. Goldberg is, in fact, the editor in chief of The Atlantic. Called out. Okay. All right. Let me see. I'm scrolling down fast, folks, because I got some stuff that I got to play for you guys in a minute. Para ver, I'm not going to read everything. I'm going to read stuff that I think folks will want to see sort of immediately. Let's see. Leave the Bearcat says capital is needed for any jump start of any business, etc. So where else is there more within 29 trillion in American versus any other country? Hey, I agree. Capital is needed, but you know what? When that's what we have a good thing called a small business association. Let them generate the capital. Let them do the risk taking where an executive doesn't have to get the profit for that. I believe in a nationalized banking system. All right, Eddie Hart says this is what you get when you hire a drunk ex-mediocre soldier to lead the world's greatest armed forces in our country. What a shame. Eddie Hart, you get this, you get the statement of the day. This is what you get when you hire a drunk, ex mediocre soldier to lead the world's greatest armed forces. Everybody give Eddie Nart a hand. Eddie Nart gets a big hand. I couldn't have said it any better. Maywood, well, that is another conversation. All right, let's keep going down. Brothers Egberto, to me, patents stifle innovation and competition and should be drastically drastically reduced in duration. I think to some extent even abolished, as long as you're showing it's not copied. I have a chapter in my book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, and it's simply titled Capitalism Just Not Working, and under that I have patent law. And it's about 7 pages that I discuss how bad the patent system is and what it does to not only the business people, but also farmers, etc., etc., etc. All right, what Hegseth did is treason? No, but it's fireable. I think it's treason, Brother Radden. I do think it's treason. I think Patrick is absolutely right on that. Let me scroll down. I'm scrolling down. Okay, let's play the first video. Let me set it up here. If you want to understand what's happening with immigration, remember many times over, I've spoken about the whole deal with immigration. America needs people. America doesn't only need people to build homes, to cosechar lo que está en la finca, meaning to go ahead and cultivate the land, meaning pick our fruits. We also need labor. We need a lot of folks in America. And America just does not have enough workers to fit the particular skills that are needed out there. And that's why we have been a magnet for immigration, and it works. Even the illegal portion of our immigration system, believe it or not, works. The reason why your Social Security has been solvent longer than it should is because there are billions going in there from undocumented workers who will never ever collect on it. The reason why we pay the prices we pay for homes is because people that are building these homes, good skills, are building them at an affordable rate, even as they prosper and send a lot of their monies home. The reason we pay a small amount for the vegetables that we eat, for for all these things is because, again, we have good laborers that know how to do the job efficiently. Now, I do believe we should be paying them a hell of a lot more. The farmers in the field, or the people that are harvesting our fruits and vegetables in the field should be paid just as much as we pay the oil worker, etc., who's harvesting oil. Those who are harvesting our food should be paid comparatively. Would that raise the price of food? Yes, somewhat. But it also, a lot of that profit that goes into the coffers of the ADMs and all the big corporations should cease and more go to the people who make it happen. But anyway, beside the point, a Canadian woman got arrested by ICE. She was in the process of buying her ticket to go back to Canada. And what did they do? They threw her into jail anyway. And there is a reason for that. Because the immigration issue was never about immigration. The immigration issue was never about immigrants killing people, because Americans are much better killers than immigrants. Much better killers than immigrants. Both our military and our people. Much better killers than immigrants. But she gets it. I want you to listen to what she says close to the end of the interview on MSNBC. And I'm glad MSNBC took this story out of The Guardian, because a lot of folks hadn't seen it. I want you to listen to this.
Jasmine Mooney is a Canadian citizen who had a work visa, no criminal record, and had been traveling back and forth between Canada and California without any complications until she says she was suddenly detained without explanation at the San Diego border when she tried to reapply for a new visa. Writing in The Guardian, quote, "I was taken to a tiny freezing cement cell with bright fluorescent lights and a toilet. There were 5 other women lying on their mats with aluminum sheets wrapped over them, looking like dead bodies. The guard locked the door behind me. For 2 days, we remained in that cell, only leaving briefly for food. The lights never turned off. We never knew what time it was, and no one answered our questions. No one in the cell spoke English, so I either tried to sleep or meditate to keep from having a mental breakdown, excuse me. I didn't trust the food, so I fasted, assuming I wouldn't be there long." She added, "I was told to shower, given a jail uniform, fingerprinted, and interviewed. I begged for information. How long will I be here? I don't know your case," the man said. "Could be days, could be weeks. But I'm telling you right now, you need to mentally prepare yourself for months." Ultimately, Mooney says she spent 12 days in detention before she was finally allowed to book herself a flight back home to Canada. Joining us now, Jasmine Mooney. Explain what happened.
I mean, I'm still processing what happened. I got out and it really feels like a dream or a nightmare, but I still really don't know how I ended up there. But now I am really trying to use my voice to tell people what's going on, because I really don't think a lot of people know what's going on in there.
Why weren't you allowed to book yourself a flight back home?
I have no idea. I assume that if there were a denial with my visa, I would just book myself a flight and head back home. Apparently, because I had one denial before and then my other visa was voided. So for some reason, they said that they had to send me back to Canada. And I was literally booking my own flight to go home. And then that's when I was taken. And then I was in there for 12 days and not a single person talked to me the entire time that I was in there about my case.
Why do you think you were not given the opportunity? Do you feel like you were being used to send a message to others?
You know, I've been trying to come up with every explanation that I can. And I truly don't know. I was in there. I met around 200 other women who none of us had a criminal record. Everyone's story was different, a lot of the same. A lot of women I believe should not be in there. And what I found is the issue wasn't about getting deported. A lot of women admitted that they overstayed their visas. It's just what the issue that they have is the process of getting out of there. It is next to impossible. There is no communication. You do not have an officer to talk to. You can't contact your lawyers or your friends or your family. I was transferred twice in 2 weeks, which is an awful experience. There were girls in there who had been transferred 8 times in a couple weeks. So the whole system just felt super rigged to keep us in there. That's what it felt like.
Well, because you write, this is an interesting part of the article. You say companies like Core Civic and GEO Group receive government funding based on the number of people they detain, which is why they lobby for stricter immigration policies. It's a lucrative business. Core Civic made over $560 million from ICE contracts in a single year. In 2024, GEO Group made more than $763 million from ICE contracts. Do you believe that you were kept in there because you were a moneymaker?
Yes, I do. I believe that all the women in there are kept in there as long as possible, transferred around because it's a business and they make money off of us. That's the only explanation that I could come up with, because I said from day one, I would pay for my ticket to go home. The amount of wasted resources that I witnessed in there, the inhumane conditions, they did everything they can to cut costs. I was given 1 plastic spoon and 1 styrofoam cup to last the stay. So when you start putting the pieces together, that is what I felt and came up with. So right now, I'm just trying to be a voice and bring light to this in hopes that someone who can make a change to the system cares and will listen and will sit down and see what's going on, because I want to believe that the administration doesn't know what's going on in there. Like I said, it is such a waste of resources. I met a girl in there that was there for 10 months. 10 months in those conditions. And I was there for 2 weeks. I'm Canadian. I have a Canadian passport. I had media, friends, family, lawyers, everyone using all of their resources to get me out. And it still took me 12 days. So can you possibly imagine what the other girls in there who don't have my resources, who don't have my privilege, are going through?
Now I want you guys to think about what she said. Imagine those without her resources, those without her privilege has to go through. Like I said from the beginning, like I pointed out from the beginning, the only reason Donald Trump is picking up the immigration issue is, one, to rile up a base, to create a false hate of people, those others, and with that gain a vote, because you're basing that on people's carnality. But the most important reason he's doing this is for the grift. He intends to make a lot of money locking people up. And if you understand what she's saying there at the end, these companies are there to keep these places filled up, because as they keep them filled up, they make more money per head. And to reduce costs, heard what she said as well. 1 plastic spoon, 1 styrofoam cup. And you better take care of that, because that's all you get. Keep the costs low. Treat them like animals. Look, this is what they do. This is no different, absolutely no different than the modus operandi that these pseudo-capitalists, well, not pseudo-capitalists, real capitalists have been doing for a long time. Folks, we have to wake up. There one mistake she made. She said she pointed out the story because she doesn't think the White House understands what's going on. That is where she's absolutely wrong. The White House knows exactly what's going on. It's been a grift from the beginning, and it will continue to be a grift. And when it is no longer feasible, when they've gotten all the money they can out of it, and when the farmers start paying bribes to Trump to give them exceptions to get those people into their farms, when the meat packers get to pay more bribes to Trump to get exceptions into going into their meat factories, their poultry factories, all these people are going to be there to get exceptions. So Donald Trump will be making money on all sides, and he's not going to get it directly. He'll make some money from somebody. Somebody will then go buy the Trump coin and use some of the money that they profited from because of the grift from Trump and gets it into Trump coins. You have to understand Trump's methodology. Why the hell would Trump create a Trump coin? Why the hell will Trump create what is it, Truth Social? All of these are mechanisms to clean money. You can't give him direct money into his campaign, but you can buy DJI stock to keep a false company afloat. You can buy a Trump virtual coin, a Trump, what do you call it? A crypto coin. And by doing that, he gets rich without looking like he's doing anything wrong, which we do know, while he passed policies that goes ahead and just rip us all off. It's a grift. Understand it. It's a grift. All right, folks. Michael Rudden has a new one, and it goes like this on Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth allegedly, while drunk, accidentally added a journalist to his private group chat discussing top secret war plans. Of course, we know. What can I say? What can I say? Egberto, you can expect nothing but psychopathic behavior from the right when it comes to brown people being deported. They have no empathy for outgroups, have already become the worst. That they caught a white woman in the racist roundup might get a few of them to think this could happen to me. But you see, I actually thought about that, and I actually thought about putting that into the narrative as well. But then I said, but she was Canadian. And Donald Trump wants to annex Canada. She was Canadian. Egberto Willies, I have a serious question. I do not want to file my taxes. I want to do the extension thing. I mean, who is there anyway? Many are forging paying this year. Thoughts? I don't get back anyway. No, you got to file your taxes. But let me tell you, every year I file an extension. I won't be paying my tax. I will be paying my taxes on the 15th. I will make sure and have it tracked that I pay my taxes on the 15th, where the money goes. But secondly, my dear Bridge, I don't do the official filings until October. By then, everything probably will hit the fan. And God knows what. I'll make sure when I pay my taxes to pay as little as possible, because I pay everything on April 15th. So what I'll do is I'll make sure not to pay anything over where I need a return. And I got to figure that out. I got to figure out how to do that. But yeah, don't let me give you this, Bridge. Don't give them any excuse at all. At all. No excuses at all to put you on the other side of the legal ledger. File your taxes. Lee the Bearcat says, try that, not filing taxes, and see what happens. Not a good idea anytime. Bearcat, actually, that's not bad advice. All right. So anybody listening to us right now, file your taxes, pay what's owed. Okay. Make sure you have a tracking that you can also say all of the time, here is what I owe. Patrick Magner says, my girlfriend is a CPA and said there is a decade of paperwork stored in a fleet of school buses. Damn. Lissarin Dreams, how you doing, beautiful? Haven't heard from you in a while. I didn't see you on our show this morning. She says, why not claim to pay little for your check, then not pay at all? I thought too, but they would see my political affiliation and want to imprison me for evading taxes. Actually, the problem is not about paying, right? The problem is not filing. You have to file. When I file my sales taxes with the state of Texas, most of the times I have no sales. So it goes to zero. But even if it's zero, and if I fail to pay, which when I was taking care of Ashland, DC, I failed to file for 2 consecutive quarters, and each quarter they charged me $50, and I wrote a letter and I pointed out the condition that I was in when I was in DC, how difficult it was, and believe it or not, the state of Texas forgave those 2 $50 fines. So that we had some good people, passionate people with hearts in the office. Lissarian Dream said, what do you all think about them talking about trading our Fort Knox treasury gold for Bitcoin? It is sick, but I don't even give a lot of credence to gold anyway, right? If we are in a state of emergency, people always talk about the gold standard. Gold can't buy you a damn. You know what? You know what will be the standard? Food. If you want to know what can be traded very well in a calamity, the answer is water and food. Water and food would be more valuable than gold any day. So when you see all these doomsday guys that are selling you gold in a famine, what the hell is gold going to do for you? Not a damn thing. So the thing about it is, food. If you think a famine is coming, find a secure location. If you know how to bottle food that can last for 5, 10 years, just go ahead and bottle it and put it in that secure location. And that is worth more than gold. If you can store water with a few tablets to kill microbes, that is worth gold. Guys, I got one more video for you. You know, Pete Hegseth, he has a big mouth. He's always telling people, like, if you do this, you need to pay the price. If you do this, you need to pay the price. You know, with Hillary Clinton, he really got on her case. Well, now it's him on the hot seat. Hot seat. So I want you to listen to what he thinks. Pete, how would Pete Hegseth of 2016 deal with Pete Hegseth of 2024? Well, you know what? Let's see how he'll do. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Any security professional, military, government, or otherwise, would be fired on the spot for this type of conduct and criminally prosecuted for being so reckless with this kind of information. Even one hiccup causes a problem. Any security professional, military, government, or otherwise, would be fired on the spot for this type of conduct and criminally prosecuted for being so reckless with this kind of information. Even one hiccup causes a problem.
All right. Pete Hegseth of 2016. Meet Pete Hegseth of 2024. Do your job. Fire Pete Hegseth. Come on, Pete Hegseth of 2016. Fire Pete Hegseth of 2024. That is what we need to do. All right, folks. I am at the end of the program, and we still have about 3 minutes that we can take calls. So why don't you give me a call at 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. Michael Radney says, I'm going to be away tomorrow. Catch you the day after. Michael, you will be missed. What am I going to do to get all that stuff in the beginning of the program that you dutifully research? No, I'm playing with you, Michael. I have a lot of material, but I love to read the materials that you guys provide. Let's see what else we have here. Give me a call, 281-823-7747. Una vez más, 281-823-7747. Let's see what we got here. Did I read that right? What did you say about Crockett now? I know it has to be funny. Tonight, radical Democrat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett spoke on a call action. My brother Ray Brackens, talk to me.
Yeah, Egberto, I was listening to that young lady's story, and it was quite disturbing to me at the fact
Yes.
that, she had no criminal record, but yet she went through, she basically got treated worse than a criminal because, typically in those immigration cases, they don't really like to allow you to get legal representation. And I feel like what this administration is basically doing is they're trying to elevate immigration law to the highest point of basically an offense that you can be, and then find ways to basically exile people, to a system that not even our traditional criminal justice system would have a hand to give you any rights. And it's quite fascist when you look at it,
I can't disagree with you. And the thing about it is, she had a lot of help. So she was only there
Yeah.
12 days. And saying only 12 days is really bad because 12 days is an eternity. And psychologically, after day one, day two, day three, your next question to yourself is, am I ever going to get out of here? The psychological damage that that does to one is ridiculous. So, I mean, look, this is all bad. We are making enemies all over. You know what Canadians feel when they realize that one of their own is treated like that? Nobody around the country. The only people that treat Americans that way is Russia. And look at what Trump is doing with Russia. Russia just picks people off the streets and lock them up. Iran does the same thing, picks them off the street and lock them up. Those are the things that Trump likes. North Korea picks them up off the street, locks them up. But those are the folks that Trump's like. You notice that Trump, now that Trump is in power, he wants to have negotiation with Iran. You notice that? It's amazing.
Yeah. He's obviously, building up his good favor with the people
Yes.
that we consider enemies. And
Yes.
like I said, it's I just don't understand. And every day I listen to your show, if I'm able to wake up, because I haven't been able to get up as early as 6 as I used to, but whenever I'm able to catch it, I'm like, when I listen to some of those people, it's like MAGA people. When is it gonna be enough? When are you gonna
Yeah,
finally say? When are you gonna have that Liz Cheney moment? When you just say, you know what, I'm done.
well,
I can't
let me
take
tell
no
you when
more. Yeah,
it's a social when they call when something happens to the social security check, that you won't those calls are not going to come in. Okay. For those of them that call that are on social security, that's not going to come in. For those that call in that are on food stamps, it's not going to come in. The calls are going to stop. In fact, there's one person that I notice isn't calling anymore, and I kind of have an idea why. All right, and they're starting to react. You know when things have changed when they stop calling. I don't know if you noticed our good friend Brian, his tone has been, he's still trying to hold on, but it's sure as hell changed a lot. I mean,
yeah. I
they're
noticed
starting to
Brian
realize.
softening up a little bit.
Let me tell you
And the
something.
thing about
Go ahead,
look,
brother.
go ahead.
No, no, you go,
No,
you
I
go.
want to hear what you got to say.
No,
I
yeah,
was saying Brian.
hmm
Oh,
No,
I
you
was
go,
just
please.
saying that Brian, I know he's not stupid. He just likes to fluff feathers. That's what I was
Yes.
gonna say.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But look, man, it's 4 o'clock and it's time for us to shut this baby down. So thank you so kindly for calling in, my brother. I love you guys, and I need to give my quick pitch here and then take off. All right.
All right, thank you for the space, brother. Take care.
Thank you, brother. All right, folks. Look, we are at the end of the show. Please don't forget, check out my books, which will help offset the cost of all that we do here, help take care of what we must do. But importantly, I'd like those of you that are listening to consider becoming paid subscribers of our newsletter, Egberto Off the Record. I guarantee you that's not all we do. We write books, write articles, post it in newspapers, online. You can take, if you go to if you go to egbertowillies.com/info, you get to see all this different stuff that we actually spend hours and hours and hours and hours upon time doing. And we do need support to keep doing this. And luckily, it comes in slow, but slowly we're building. We're still at negative cash flow, but if we can get about 1,000 people to be paid subscribers of our newsletter, it'll be great. Right now we are just under 370. We need about 650 or so more paid subscribers. So please consider becoming a paid subscriber. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Keep this stuff going. There are a lot of different ways you can support us as well. Find the best way you can, but know that we are working day in, day out to make us a better America. Anyway, got to get out of here. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.